5 things to remember if you have BPD or borderline personality disorder. I'm making this video because I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder when I was just 18 years old, so just when it was possible to get diagnosed. It was a really hard time for me, and during the whole process and everything, you kind of notice that there is a lot of stigma about borderline personality disorder, and also just the name in and of itself was like really harsh for me to be identified by, because it might mean that there is something wrong with my personality. But it couldn't be further from the truth, and in this video I just really want to tell you 5 things you gotta remember when you have been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Things that I did not know, and things that if I would have known, it would have been a whole lot easier to go about this. Hi beautiful souls, my name is Joe, and I'm here to inspire and share in hopes of you creating a better vision on yourself and on your life. So this is another mental health video. I think I'm gonna make these once in a while because I've noticed that my last video about borderline had more views than usual, so I guess maybe this is also a great way to help some people out, even though it's like a bit more specific. But I'm just trying, and let's see how this video does and if it really helps people out there. So I'm a peer support specialist here in Belgium. That means that I assist people in their healing journey for people who have some psychiatric difficulties. So I really like connecting with people, spending time with people, and I'm also studying to become a coach, and I'm planning to niche down in self-esteem, because that is the thing that I've been struggling most with when I had a lot of mental health issues. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the first thing that you really want to remind yourself of if you got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Listen to me very carefully when I'm saying this. Who you are is not a disorder. It's not. I know the name can make it seem like there is something wrong with you, but there isn't really something wrong with you at all. You are so much more than your diagnosis, and you maybe don't really realize that right now because you're going through a lot of things and you're reading the criteria and you're just kind of identifying yourself with that criteria because you do experience these kind of things, but it's not the complete truth of who you are. And it might seem like it's not because you struggle with these things on a daily basis. But I'm telling you, as you go through your healing journey and everything, you will see that you are indeed so much more than a personality disorder. It's kind of easy to identify ourselves with that, but I know that after a while I had this kind of saying in my head of like this empowerment that I had for myself. I just said to myself, BPD won't define me, and I even made like a piece of art because of it, and sadly it's not here because it's still with at my mom's place and I live alone right now. Didn't take that with me, but yeah, that's just what I did, and I just decided then and there that this is not going to define me, because you actually have that power to really say that and to really believe that. So you are not your disorder, and you are so much more than that, and there is nothing wrong with you, not even if a diagnosis implies that there is something disordered about your personality. And this is actually kind of leading me very easily into the second thing that I really want you to remember if you've been diagnosed with BPD, and that is that it's a very normal reaction to trauma. I've heard that some people have BPD without trauma, but for some reason I find that quite hard to believe. There is usually always something that lurks underneath BPD, always. So maybe you've had a really hard upbringing, maybe you didn't really have a lot of emotional love or attention or caregiving from your parents. Maybe your parent was mentally ill as well, maybe your dad wasn't around, maybe your family has been struggling with the same issues as well and did not heal that and just kind of passed it over onto you. But actually, borderline is kind of a survival strategy. You really have to realize that all the symptoms, all the criteria, it is survival mechanism, okay? Because you're not living, you're surviving, you know? And the thing is, like, when you go through the wow, I cannot talk. When you are going, what? When you are going through the healing journey, you will kind of start to see that your patterns, you will start to notice your patterns. You will start to notice when you get triggered, how you get triggered, and what the consequences are of that trigger. And when you become more mindful of yourself and of your subconscious, you will start to see, oh, well, I feel like this when this happens. And you know, you just kind of start to get to know yourself on a much deeper level, something that you did not feel safe to do at all when you were surviving, if that makes any sense. So it's a very normal reaction to trauma. And I know a lot of people say that we are manipulative and we are crazy and whatever. Okay, there could be some people with BPD who are like that, but for me personally, I've never been very manipulative. That's why my psychiatrist was like, I'm kind of not sure if I should give you this diagnosis because you're not manipulative, which is actually a bit stigmatizing if you think about it, because I really don't think that other people with BPD, or not most people with BPD, like really manipulate on purpose, okay? We might do it subconsciously and we might not be aware of it, but most of the time it's really not our intention to hurt people. So like I said, it's just really a reaction to trauma, and you should not be too upset when you hear about that these patterns and such are just hurting you, maybe also hurting other people. Is just a normal reaction to trauma. And now that you're an adult, it's your responsibility to kind of look into these patterns, you know, and you will realize that this is actually not who you are. You are much better than the criteria or the disorder. There is an amazing person underneath all that who has always been there, but that amazing person just never felt safe enough to express him or herself. The third thing that you have to remember if you have BPD is that there are so many ways to heal, you know. It's endless actually. I tried a lot of different things. I went to, it was like not cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm going to look up the name in English because I think it has an interesting variation. Oh yeah, I got it. So I actually did dialectical behavioral therapy. And I thought the difference was that in dialectical behavioral therapy, there is more of a focus on mindfulness as well. So also a bit of focus on feeling and getting in touch with your body and feeling. And I don't know if that's the same for cognitive behavioral therapy, but they are very similar, you know. So I did that, and that really worked out. It was like a group therapy, and there were other people who were going through kind of the same thing as me. And actually the ones that really helped me out weren't even really like the therapist per se. Like they really had a big role in my healing, of course, but also it was so heartwarming to also meet others who are struggling with the same things. And yeah, I felt understood for the first time in my life. And that's also how you realize that, oh, I'm not disordered, you know, there's other people who are going through the same thing, and there's a lot of people struggling from this, so we are really not alone. Also, what also really helped me to heal, but I can only talk out of my own experience. I don't really know a lot about how others healed from this, but I would really love to know. So if you have BPD and you have done some kind of therapy or something that you kind of invented on your own, or just some little or big things that you do for yourself that really help you, please put them down below in the comments, because I really want to broaden my horizon for this. Because in my job, it's important that we kind of know a whole variety of different things that have worked for people, you know. That is what peer supporting is all about, actually. It's not only our story, but it's also your story. It's the story of everybody. So if you have something, if you can enlighten me, then please comment something down below in the comments. But to get back to my points, What also really helped me was like, I personally discovered spirituality, because after all the therapy, I was still struggling a lot with my self-image. So I was like, okay, let's go a bit further and stuff. And I have always really been into spirituality, and that really kind of gave me the ability to love myself again. You know, I started like doing meditations, loving kindness meditation. I found it on the app of like Sam Harris, Waking Up it's called, and you can actually get it for free if you ask for a scholarship. If you like don't have a credit card or you don't really have the money to pay, I think it's about like $90 a year or something. So it's still pretty chill, you know, but still, if you don't really have money, you can always contact them, because they kind of want to make it available to as many people as possible, which I think is really awesome. But yeah, those meditations really helped me. I'm also somebody who's really into internet. So I actually already researched a lot about my specific problems. So for me, it was like self-hatred and such that like never really went away. I just kind of searched on YouTube how to love yourself or how to stop hating yourself and such. So YouTube has also had a very big role, actually, maybe even the biggest role if I really think about it. I've been using it since I was a child. It's been really supportive, you know, especially when you are unable to kind of find a connection with people in real life, which is sometimes often the case. Then YouTube is also really a place that could help you out. But these are just some examples, you know. There is so many more ways, and also everybody's healing journey is completely different. Even if somebody said like this is the best therapy to do for BPD, you could go there and you could not really get anything out of it. Why? Because we're all different people who like different things. So don't be afraid to search for your own solutions. I know it's easy to listen to people who are like, yeah, you gotta do this and that. But like if you really hate journaling, for example, which is also something that we had to do, maybe you could do something completely different, like vlogging, you know? Like I used to do that sometimes, getting my emotion out, just talking freely, not uploading the videos. But you know, just for myself, keeping a diary in that way, you know, be creative with it. There is so many things you can do. So don't be scared or something if therapy wasn't everything for you. Just like it wasn't for me, it still could not solve the really personal, deep issues that I had with myself. So yeah, there's a lot of possibility and there's a lot of hope. The fourth thing that you have to remember if you have BPD, and this might come off as like, I just want to put a bit of a disclaimer here. It might seem that if I'm telling you this, that I'm implying that it's your fault and everything, and you should just man up and get the fuck over it. But that is not what I am saying. Especially if you are in crisis, it's maybe not a good idea to think about this. But as you start healing and as you start kind of feeling better, you might become aware again of the fact that you have all the power, and only you have all the power to change your reality, you know. Maybe you're still in a bad family environment. Maybe you're in a toxic relationship. Maybe you're in a job that you hate, or you're surrounded by people who actually kind of prove your negative beliefs to yourself, you know, people that are actually not really helping you to get into a better version of yourself. And the thing is that you just have all the power to decide who you let in and who you will not let in. And I know it can seem kind of scary to think about that we actually have all the power to change these things, because yeah, we feel helpless. We feel very helpless. At least that's how I felt. I felt like the world was doing everything to me and not for me. But after many years of having this diagnosis and not really identifying with it a whole lot anymore, I really discovered that all along I had the power to change, and I have the power to create a life that's worth living. But of course, when you're in a crisis or something, you are unable to realize that. You first really have to take your rest, probably. You really have to get down to earth again, because it can be really intense when we're feeling very bad. So ignore this if you're in that type of position, you know. You don't have to start thinking like that if you're really not feeling good. Let yourself be taken care of, you know. give yourself the time that you need. You don't have to go from like this to this all of a sudden. It's like, it's not really realistic, you know. The healing process, people think that healing goes like this, you know, straight line up, like no problems, no issues anymore. Okay, I have the problem and now we're going to heal all of a sudden. But that's not true. Healing goes more like this and then a bit up, you know. It's not as fast as you think. It takes a lot of time. So don't feel guilty if you're not there yet. That's just what I want to say. But I just want to give you some hope that after a while, I promise you, you will be strong enough to really believe that you are the creator of your own reality. And this is not even like some spiritual weird stuff. It's actually just a fact that if you have a different attitude and you see yourself in a different light, that you also see the world in a very different light, and you see more possibilities instead of like step backs, you know. It's really crazy what your mind does, you know. It's something you will discover later on if you keep healing, of course. Of course, now the fifth thing I wanted you to remember if you have BPD is actually something I've already said, is that healing takes time. You know, we cannot expect somebody who has just received the diagnosis, is kind of shook by it, you know, is still in the state of like, what do I have? And like, is still at the beginning stages of healing. We cannot say to them, well, oh, you just have to go and do this and this helps. And oh, that's very destructive. You cannot do that. Like, calm down, you know. People need their time. You know how long I fucked up after getting the diagnosis? It's only been like a year and a half or something that I've really stepped up my game. And I got the diagnosis when I was like 18. So if I count, and I am really bad at mathematics and I still count on my fingers, it's about like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish years after receiving the diagnosis that I was finally able to believe that I actually am love and I'm not hate. It has taken me so long, and spoiler, I'm still healing. And especially like I still struggle with my anxious attachment, you know, from trauma. I don't really like to identify it with borderline anymore because I don't meet all of the criteria anymore and such, and I just really like focusing on like one problem right now. So yeah, I still struggle a lot with anxious attachment. So, and to give you an example, last week I was like 3 days I was crying the whole day. So healing is something that takes time, even for people who are already a bit further in their healing stage. Like, I don't know, it's also, people take very different paths, you know. It's hard to say. So don't worry, even if you are years into your healing and you're still like, I'm still struggling, like what is happening? It's completely normal. Give yourself some time, honey. That's what I want to say to you. So I hope this video kind of helped. Maybe you can relate. So yeah, if you liked it, don't forget to like this video. I would really appreciate it. And if you like this kind of content, then please subscribe to my channel. It would really mean a lot to me because, you know, growing a YouTube is kind of slow and it really takes time, and it's a whole process, just like healing. But just like with healing, I'm not really giving up. So yeah, if you like this, then you can always subscribe. It's not always about BPD though, but it doesn't matter. Like, everything that I make is in an effort to help people. So even though BPD is not mentioned, check out the other things. There is probably something valuable in there for you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.